1917. What a year, what a film. The year I barely remember. Anything pre my birth is a little hazy. The film, however, I remember very well. We are going to be talking about spoilers a little bit. I'm not going to get into, the nitty-gritty.
Let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
1917 was directed by Sam Mendes, who you might know from such films as Skyfall and Spectre and Jarhead. That one didn't quite work as well. Incredible filmmaker. The film is written by Christy Wilson Cairns. The two stars of this film are Dean Charles Chapman, who plays Corporal Blake, and George McKay, who plays Schofield. Two relatively unknown actors. There's secondary supporting cast, such as Colin Farrell. No, fuck it. Not Colin Farrell. Colin Firth. I always get those two motherfuckers mixed up. Benedict Cumberbatch is in it. I'm gonna move Remy. The movie was shot by the legendary Roger Deakins. We could spend the rest of the time just talking about the movies he's done. Just to name a few: Skyfall, No Country for Old Men, Prisoners, Jarhead, a ton of great movies. He does a lot of work with the Coen brothers, and then in recent years he's worked with Sam Mendes quite a bit. Sam Mendes' grandfather fought in the First World War from the years 1916 to 1918. He was 17 years old, and he never told his kids about anything that happened to him during the war until later on. Once he got a lot older, into his 70s, he began to tell his grandchildren stories. They weren't of heroism necessarily, but more survival. He talked a lot about just how lucky he was to be alive. His grandfather was a courier in World War I. And one story that I guess always stuck with him throughout his entire life, he had to deliver a message through no man's land. So that essentially is our premise for 1917. Narratively, it reminded me a lot of Saving Private Ryan. It was just very straightforward, very to the point. This is your mission. You're going from point A to point B. Survive. The whole thing was designed to look like it was filmed in one take, and is kind of very cleverly edited to make it look like it is just one continuous shot. As I was watching the movie, I was trying to figure out where the cuts were. Some of them were a little more obvious than others, but I watched some YouTube videos online afterwards about where some of the cuts were, and they are absolutely brilliant. Like, it's literally the camera will be panning around the back of somebody, and right in the millisecond that you lose visibility, there'll be a cut right there. A couple minutes after the beginning of the film, they're given their mission. Blake and Schofield are given the mission by Colin Farrell. Fuck, I said it again. By Colin Firth, who tasks them with delivering a letter to one of the generals on the other side of the war zone that 1,600 men are about to walk into a trap. And in order to get there, they're going to have to go into no man's land. They're going to have to go deep into enemy territory. The characters themselves, we aren't given a lot of backstory for these two guys. A lot of the character motivations and a little bit of their past is kind of gradually revealed through little bits of dialogue here and there. But there's not a lot of exposition, which I think was intentional. This movie it's not, as I like to call it, Hollywoodized. That's not a fucking word. For instance, I love the movie Fury, but towards the end of that movie, there's a scene, spoiler alert, where Brad Pitt, Logan Lerman, and company defend a tank from about 100 German soldiers, like closing in on their position. You're not going to see anything like that in this movie. In war, you're not going to be taking out 36 men single-handedly by yourself. If you have one guy on your ass, if you have one guy after you, that's enough. It very firmly plants its feet in reality and kind of keeps it there throughout the course of the entire film. Pacing-wise, it's not like a traditional war movie, but all of it's interesting and engaging, and because of the way it's shot, you're never bored throughout the course of it, even though by war movie standards, I can understand why people would find it maybe a little slow. It's very realistic, especially when showing kind of the repercussions of war and the aftermath of things. There's soldiers' legs that are blown off, part of their arms are missing, some guys are pretty much in half. It draws attention to what a horrible time in human history this was, and how horrible it must have been to be a 17, 18-year-old kid put on the front lines of battle, and good luck, this is for your country. The two young actors in this movie, played by George McKay and Sean William Scott. I mean, Dean Charles Chapman, they're great in this movie. George McKay is phenomenal in it. You're rooting for this guy. You're rooting for this guy so hard because you see everything he goes through and kind of the determination of the human spirit. Because there's not a lot of action in the movie, the parts where there is are so intense. There's a scene where he's crossing over a bridge and he's kind of like scaling the side of this bridge and he starts taking enemy fire. And the way they film that scene, it feels like every bullet whizzing past his head, like you're ducking, like, oh shit. He's behind cover and he starts to return fire. And there's an enemy sniper in the building and he's taking fire. The bullets are whizzing past him. A couple of them come close to hitting him. He takes a deep breath and then he like peeks out over the corner, takes his shot, and then pulls back into cover. Every time he ducks down, the camera ducks down. When he like pulls out over cover, the camera follows him there. And so it's like you feel like you're making every movement with him. And because not every scene is like that, when it happens, it's just so much more impactful. Towards the end of the movie, he finally makes it to deliver this message. They've already moved the first batch of soldiers in. He's going through the trenches, he's shoving past people, he's trying to get this message to this guy. He's come all this way, and now the battle's literally happening. And it gets to the point where he realizes there's no way he's going to be able to get to the end in time and get this message to the general that he needs to. And so he crawls out of the trenches, and that's the scene that you see in the trailer of him running through the field while all of the Allied troops are moving in on the enemy soldiers. You're just so invested at this point because this moment is everything that the movie has led up to. God damn, Sam Mendes. Bravo. And bravo to you, George McKay, for getting that cardio. So finally, he gets the message to Benedict Cumberbatch. You see everything this soldier goes through, almost dying, putting his life on the line. He gets almost no recognition for it. How many soldiers in World War I, World War II, over the course of history, just never got the recognition? Their stories were never told. This was by far one of my favorite films of the year. It exceeded my wildest expectations. I honestly kind of hope it wins Best Picture. This and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood are my two favorite movies for 2019. 1917, phenomenal. If you haven't seen it yet, I'm sorry because I just ruined the whole movie for you, but go out, watch it, see what all the fuss is about. Don't miss this movie. As you can see, I'm being a little bit more consistent about getting those videos out. I'm trying to do at least once a week, maybe 2 a week. They just take me a while to edit because I'm kind of a perfectionist when it comes to that stuff, and I'm not working with a huge, expensive setup. But if you could please subscribe to my channel and like this video, I would sincerely appreciate it. I'm putting a lot of hard work in these videos, and it would mean a lot to me. I will see you guys next time.